Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of the initial season of Dave's Garage, and today we have a unique and special car, one that, as you can tell, is not quite stock. It's a 1974 Chevrolet Impala with the huge opera window behind it, and it has gone through a sort of a strange paint procedure. But I think it really does the car, all right. You wouldn't want to just have this as your only representation of this car, but I do. What happened is that I bought this car originally. I saw it for the first time in Milford, Connecticut. It was in gold, and I don't think this is quite the one. I somehow or another lost track of that, even though I only bought it a couple of years ago. And then I started on what I called my car garage, and I bought another one, and I painted all these cars in black and white, some better, some worse. And as you can tell, I think we lost a wheel here. No, we didn't. It's just fumungled, and then I put it in the car garage. I glued it on, and then it came off. And when you take a look at it, the '74 Impala, the Impala was basically past its prime. Its prime was probably '73, which was the third year of a style that usually went just 2 years. But it worked because it had a good-looking front end, a good-looking back end, and we were all willing to accept the fact that the every 2-year body change might not be something that was going to last forever. And the federal regulations made it so that it made sense that it was going to last another year. But '74 was the year you kind of knew that the Impala had slipped its rails, that it very well could be on the way out, and on the way out it was. And like a lot of things on the way out, it didn't leave, quickly. It left like in 1987 or so. I mean, after it had been downsized and played second fiddle to the Caprice, and the Caprice was no longer the car that everybody wanted. The full-size Chevrolet had given away its crown to the Olds Cutlass, and eventually the Honda Civic or a Honda Accord, and times changed, and then the Impala came back for the mid-90s as a specialty muscle car. But here in '74, it got this new opera window, a huge opera window, and that was because rollover standards were coming in, and you could no longer have a hardtop. But hardtops can also be seen not just as no pillar between the door and the back window, but also as frameless door glass. This car had frameless door glass, so it had the best of both worlds, and that window looked pretty cool. The Cadillac had one that was similar, and therefore, as in those days, Chevys and Cadillacs, out of the genius of GM, did manage to share a certain look. So you bought the lowest car on their totem pole, and it looked like the highest. And you got the highest, and you could tell you were in the family of General Motors. So, with that in mind, I painted this car, and it's stayed with me. So when I had my fourth episode of this to go along with my original episode, my second episode I believe was a GTO. No, that was my first. And then my Corvette, the 409 I have yet to get to, and the Eldorado, which I did last week. Now comes the Impala. So what more can we say about the Impala? It had the concave rear window. It had a nice short trunk, although not too short. It had a hood, which was of the length of the days. It had 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, which, you couldn't hold against the car. They had to have them. It had white wall tires. It had a chrome strip down the side. It seemed like a rub strip, which made it seem a little bit regulatory. And it had the tail lamps. I don't know if you could tell the It's 3 tail lamps aside on the back. No longer can tell. But as you can see, this is art, man. I mean, look at this. The white paint is cracked on the windshield. Yet from certain angles, you can see the windshield very clearly, or the back windshield. The opera window is loud and clear. It had side lights front and rear, which it maintained from about the '71 era. And it had, I think it had round headlamps. I think the square headlamps weren't there for another year or two. And oh, it looks like it could be around. What does this say here? It says I don't know. I don't know what it says, but I call it a 74. You know, if it's 76, then it would have the square headlamps. But this car is amazing. It's from an era that seemed like it was going downhill at the time, but in today's look, it looks classic. You really just don't distinguish much between the 71 to the 76. Matter of fact, if anything, the 76 looks like it has what it should have on it compared to the 71, which lacked. I mean, you don't have heavy bumpers on a car. Are you serious? And, you know, the people that were around in those days are no longer around to, you know, actively lament the going of their favorite styling motifs. I was 15 when the 71 came out, which this is based on. It's the exact same body for the most part with these revisions. And I thought that, you know, in a perfect world, the 71 would have been restyled in 73, but I was willing to say the perfect world extended into 73. Now, in 74, they should have had a brand new one, but they didn't. And, you know, there are people that were around long before I was around that no doubt thought that the 60s and the 70s were less than what they would have liked in life. So we have the 74 Impala, a two-door car with hardtop and a pillar, hidden windshield wipers, white wall tires, a little bit of chrome, and it was big, fellas. It was as big as it wanted to be. The 77 would get downsized. It would become a sedan with posts. I mean, the party was over. Now, I guess this way was we were leaving the party, and it wasn't a shock. It took 3 years to leave and to finally, you know, get to the smaller car. But I'd say a 74 Impala, the fact that it's in Hot Wheels even, is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. I mean, why would anybody put a 74 Impala in Hot Wheels? I guess they feel it looks different. I mean, it's not like the Torino, which had a movie named after it. It's just yesterday gone by. Well, folks, I would take you out for a spin in this, and this one I really would, but I don't think they would allow me on the road for too long because the rear visibility, you know, it would be a great car for people to see, but I think they're going to have to come to my garage to see it, and they'd always be welcome to do so. So thank you very much for spending another few minutes here in Dave's garage, and as we pan back on this car, we can only say these were the good old days, and I'll tell you what, I will be here next week, and I hope to see you then. Goodbye, friends.